scare tactics, and a two-class system. This and more on the Manitoba Freethinker Podcast. Welcome back to another show, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're having a wonderful day as always. Quick question, are you guys in favor of going back to a mask mandate and having Manitoba continue the two-class system? And by that I mean allowing Manitobans who have had 2 doses to be able to enter more businesses and attend more events that's only allowed to people who have had 2 doses. I can tell you personally, I am not in favor of going back to a mask mandate, and I am definitely not in favor of a 2-class system here in Manitoba. I've been pretty vocal about that in the past. And I mean, I don't think I'll be wearing a mask too often. I might to prevent a huge scene if I'm out with my daughter, I'll admit that. But other than that, I doubt I am going to wear a mask. I'm pretty done with that bullshit. And as for the 2-class system, that is complete bullshit. And after listening to the news conferences, it appears that they are only going to be increasing the places that require proof of 2 doses. So just so you know, for those who haven't got vaccinated, be prepared for that. I will keep you guys informed on when they release the new updates and the new list of businesses 2-dose people can attend. But like I said, I know I've asked this question in the past, but I do want to hear from you guys, Manitoba, what your opinion is on either returning to the mask mandate or having the 2-class system continue and really be doubled down on here in Manitoba. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. All right, Manitoba. In case you didn't get it from the question I asked, Manitoba will be going backwards in our 4-3-2-1 Great Summer Reopen plan. I mean, I guess that was all just a big lie. Most of us Manitobans who haven't gotten the vaccine knew that these goalposts would just continue to move. And that's only because they have been for the past 17 months. I mean, they say one thing, and then 2 weeks later, they literally do a 180, and the media doesn't call them out on it. So in previous news conferences, they kept saying that these lockdowns and restrictions were science-based. It was a common thread, a common point that they were really trying to hammer home. Even with the lack of transparency and the lack of data being released to the public on how and why these changes took place, they would continue to reassure us that they were based on science. Well, at least they're not toting that lie anymore. They didn't mention science at all. I mean, they didn't mention it once. I guess they realized they don't need to only lie in order to get most Manitobans to comply. They also need to scare them as well. And that's literally what this news conference was all about. It was one big, huge scare tactic, and that's it. Scare you with your health, scare you with your job, scare you with your children, scare you with what you can or can't do in a so-called free society. You know, scare you with enforcement. It's a fucking joke. Brian Pallister has nothing to lose, and he is proving it daily. And there is nothing more scary than a man with power and authority, and he doesn't have to worry about getting reelected. You know, it's the same reason why Dr. Roussin has nothing to lose in all this. He doesn't have to answer to anyone. He was not an elected official. He's just an appointed position. So these people that are making these so-called laws have nothing to lose. But because of our high vaccination rates and our low numbers in our province, like our low case counts, they know that they wouldn't be able to get away with saying, quote, science. And even with our broken media, it would be way too obvious for them not to point that out. So just so you know, as of now, we have 81% of Manitobans who have received their first shot and almost 76% who have gotten both doses. So Roussin and Pallister kept saying multiple times that the vaccination rate has slowed down too much. Yet, we are 2 weeks early in the 4-3-2-1 Great Summer Reopen plan. Like, what the fuck, Manitoba? How could they say we need to have more restrictions or we need to have this 2-class system in place in order for us to open up when we hit our vaccination targets 2 fucking weeks early? We weren't expected to get these vaccination rates until September long weekend to get to the 80-75 mark. So how in the fuck do they have the nerve to say that we aren't getting vaccinated fast enough? Like, I truly hope that Manitobans that actually believe what Pallister and Roussin say during these news conferences now realize that they are just lying and just kicking the can further down the road. And I mean, these lies can be easily proven wrong. They say one thing and in the very next week, they change it. It doesn't take a detective to figure this shit out. I guess it just takes you not working for the mainstream media to understand that they are continually lying to us. Not one mention of the 4-3-2-1 Great Summer Reopen plan, obviously, because then that would be pointing out to people that we're actually 2 weeks early. And also, obviously, not one question from our mainstream media about the 4-3-2-1 Great Summer Reopen plan. There was only a brief congratulations to Manitobans for getting the high vaccination rate and a brief message of like the target they mentioned that we hit 80-76 and that's it. You know what I mean? No mention of the plan at all. And a few months back when they came up with this plan, it's not like they didn't know that we were going to be entering a fourth wave at this point in time in September, come flu season. They knew that their fourth wave would be emerging. And it's not like they didn't know there would be different variants emerging because there already were different variants emerging when they came out with this plan. So they can't use those reasons as an excuse for going backwards 2 weeks early in this 4-3-2-1 plan. Like, I don't know how any Manitobans can believe anything they say during these conferences. That whole 4-3-2-1 plan was just a complete big fucking lie. I said it back then when they came out with it, and I'll say it again. So in order this time to frame it in a way they think most Manitobans will be able to take it, I guess, is to scare people. You know, they're done with saying science. They're going to make them think that Manitoba is preemptively taking precautions against this looming deadly fourth wave and this deadly new variant, the Delta variant. By the way, that isn't killing people any faster than the other variants were. It seems to be more contagious, and that's it. And that's for people who have been vaccinated as well. And also, like they used to, they can't even go by deaths or test positivity rates or even case counts here in the province anymore because of our numbers are so good. They are now trying to sell it as Manitoba, like it's ridiculous. They're trying to sell it as Manitoba is not an island. So if there are other provinces in Canada with high cases, we as Manitoba has to shut down as a preemptive measure. Like, can you fucking believe this? They are actually trying to use our low numbers as a reason to shut down or force masks or mandate vaccines. You know, it's actually hilarious how much balls they have, and it's pathetic how much Manitobans will bend the knee to this like complete absurdity. It's ridiculous. Like, in all seriousness, at what point what is the point of having the highest vaccination rate in the country and having the lowest case counts if it doesn't give our rights and freedoms back? What is the point of hitting the vaccination rate 2 weeks early in our reopening plan if we don't reopen? What is the point of Manitobans doing what they ask, hitting the required rates, for them to just now say, even though you did what we said, Manitoba, and you have such low rates, we still have to continue this because Manitoba is not an island and other provinces have a higher case count and a lower vaccine numbers. So forget about what we've been saying for months and months about you getting vaccinated and you'll get your rights and freedoms back. You know what I mean? It's a fucking joke. And Pallister literally said it again this news conference. Vaccinations are the way to get our freedoms back and a way to prevent lockdowns. But he's just a lying piece of shit because he just finished saying that it doesn't matter that our vaccine numbers are high and our case counts are low because we are not an island and other provinces may have high case counts and low vaccination rates. So which one is it, Pallister? Do we get our rights and freedoms back if Manitobans get vaccinated? Or did you just recently discover that Manitoba is not an island and we need our neighboring provinces to hit certain targets before we as Manitobans get our rights and freedoms back? Which one is it? And obviously no pushback from our spineless fucking mainstream media. They are so far left that they didn't think that Pallister and Roussin went far enough. Once again, the questions that they ask are mind-numbingly stupid, and it makes me embarrassed to be a Manitoban. But I'm going to read to you the new changes coming down to Manitoba. And like I said, this is kind of like part one because they said later this week, I believe Thursday or Friday, they'll be releasing the actual dates when the mask mandate will take effect. And they'll be releasing a list of businesses and events that Manitobans will be able to attend only if they can provide proof of vaccination. So like I said, they are really doubling down on this two-class system. And they are trying to get Manitobans to just break down and get the shot, even if they're against it. You know, just so they could have their rights and freedoms back. And now, possibly, just for them to keep their job. Which is unfucking believable that it's come down to this. But here is the news release from the province. August 24, 2021. Manitoba will require COVID-19 vaccinations or testing for designated government employees. The Manitoba government will require all provincial employees who work with vulnerable populations to be fully immunized for COVID-19 by October 31st or undergo regular testing to protect Manitoba against the fourth COVID-19 wave, Premier Brian Pallister announced today. In addition, the province will put indoor mask requirements in place across Manitoba in the coming days, including in schools, and will expand the list of activities and services that can only be accessed if an individual is fully immunized. Quote, these steps are necessary to protect children in Manitoba, avoid another lockdown, and keep our healthcare system safe from a fourth wave of COVID-19 and the dangerous Delta variant, Pallister said. Despite having among the highest rates of vaccinations in Canada, children in Manitoba are not yet eligible for the vaccine, and we have to take every step we can to protect them from the virus, especially as they prepare to return to the classroom this fall, end quote. The new public health orders will require all designated provincial and public service workers who have ongoing contact with vulnerable populations, especially children, to be fully immunized or submit to testing up to 3 times per week. Designated workers include direct healthcare providers and workers, including but not limited to physicians, nurses, allied health professions, support service staff, and other deemed appropriate for each site, area, or program in public and private health. Healthcare settings and direct care providers are defined as anyone who may come in contact with patients, residents, or clients, patients, residents, or clients' care environments, or patients, residents, clients' care equipment, and blood and body fluids. Educational workers, and that includes teachers, school and educational support staff, practicum students, bus drivers, and custodial staff. Childcare workers, and that includes staff and practicum students working in licensed early learning and childcare facilities. Public servants and funded agency employees who work in high-risk settings with direct ongoing contact with the public or clients, such as those who work in congregate residential settings or group homes, or work with vulnerable populations including children, or have to enter the home of a client who regularly visits sites with vaccinated mandates in place as part of their duties, and Manitoba Justice employees who work with vulnerable population and in correctional facilities. Each designated worker will be required to be fully immunized and provide proof of vaccination or undergo regular COVID-19 testing. Fully immunized individuals are those who have received both doses, any combination of the approved 2-dose COVID-19 vaccine, that's AstraZeneca, Pfizer, or Moderna, or a single dose of an approved single-dose COVID-19 vaccine, that's Janssen or Johnson & Johnson, with more than 14 days having passed since the final vaccination was received. Designated employees who are not fully immunized or cannot provide proof of vaccination will need to undergo regular COVID-19 testing up to 3 times per week for full-time employees and provide proof of a negative test result before they can resume working. These employees will be required to be fully immunized with 2 doses of COVID-19 vaccine. The first dose needs to be completed by September 7th, the first day of school, and the second dose completed by October 17th. Acceptable proof of the vaccination will include the digital or physical Manitoba immunization card or a secure printed provincial immunization record from either Public Health or the Shared Health online portal that shows immunization dates. As an additional protection measure against the rising Delta variant and a possible fourth wave of COVID-19, the province will require that everyone wear masks in public indoor settings, including schools. In addition, the province will expand more broadly the list of facilities, events, and services that will require people attending to be fully immunized. Quote, Manitoba led the country in creating a secure Manitoba Vax card with your COVID-19 immunization information, said Pallister. That gives every immunized Manitoban the ability to travel safely and now be your passport to doing even more safely against COVID-19, end quote. Dr. Brent Roussin, Medical Chief Provincial Public Health Officer, stated all these measures are necessary to guard against the Delta variant and a fourth wave of COVID-19 and avoid new public health restrictions and lockdowns. Quote, by requiring people working with vulnerable populations to get immunized, wear masks, and expand the use of vaccine passports, we can protect those most at risk of COVID-19 and avoid lockdown measures that affect everybody, said Roussin. This is now a pandemic of the unvaccinated, and we have to make sure that this does not lead to health effects on others and our healthcare system, end quote. Roussin noted that public health officials also recommend that private businesses and organizations follow the province's lead and consider mandating COVID-19 vaccinations for their employees to protect their customers and staff and to reduce the chance of an outbreak at their workplace. Health and Seniors Care Minister Audrey Gordon said these moves support the province's ongoing efforts to keep leading the nation in vaccine uptake. Quote, Manitoba is demonstrating ongoing leadership and will take every step possible to support community vaccination initiatives to protect people who face barriers to vaccination, seniors, children, and youth, as well as those experiencing shelter insecurity and anyone at a high risk of contracting the virus, end quote, said Gordon. The minister said her department and others will work closely with unions representing all provincial employees as well as key businesses and other stakeholders to ensure the orders are executed smoothly. And that is the release from the government. So that is what we know so far. And like I said, there was no pushback from the media. They only wanted more. They asked questions like, why not mandate all students to be vaccinated who are going to be attending school this fall? And why allow employees to test for COVID-19 3 times a week? Why not just mandate vaccines for them too? And it's completely ridiculous. And no pushback about having a vax card. Doesn't that send chills down your back having to show proof of vaccination or identification to enter into government or private facilities or events that are held in Manitoba? This is a slippery slope we're going down, and we're going down pretty fast. But maybe in an accident, Roussin actually answered honestly why they are not mandating healthcare workers into getting the vaccine and instead allowing the non-vax to be tested. Because if they were to mandate vaccines, there would be a huge shortage in the healthcare workforce. Meaning a lot of our healthcare workforce, first of all, isn't vaccinated. And second, that they're going to let them keep their job while they are needed. And as soon as they aren't needed, as soon as the strain on our quote unquote strain on our healthcare system is gone, the healthcare workers will be gone. It'll be bye-bye for them unless they get vaccinated. So they are completely being used just to suit the government at this time. And while at the same time they are telling, they are not completely mandating vaccines for government employees, they are telling businesses, private businesses, that they should mandate vaccines for their employees. When they're not even doing it, it's a fucking joke. They don't care if your business has any shortages or whatnot. They don't care if you can't find any employees to work for you. Remember, they look at your business like it's non-essential. And in a further attempt to scare private businesses, Roussin said that they will target businesses with high transmission rates and shut them down if there's a high uptake of the virus. And so that they should follow the government and mandate vaccines, which, like I said, the government isn't actually doing. So it is just a scare tactic now that they are really putting the pressure on private businesses. 3 decades of service thrown down the garbage, Brian Pallister. You will be remembered as the worst premier in Manitoba. You chased the far left and forgot about your voter base. And when you try to please everyone, you end up pleasing no one. You should have just stuck to your morals, and you should have stayed true to your beliefs. And you wouldn't be hated by everyone. Disagreeing on policies and politics is one thing, but when you start messing around with people's ability to actually go to work and put food on the table, and you start messing with people's children, you're not going to be forgiven so easily. This is real life. We're not like the goldfish mainstream media we have here in Manitoba, and we forget everything you say 10 minutes later. So I think more Manitobans are waking up to the lies and how these restrictions are not going away anytime soon. Regardless of the vaccination rate, regardless of the case counts, there's always going to be another wave coming. So there's always going to be a reason to implement these, quote, vax cards, which is completely ridiculous. It's time for adults to make adult decisions in a free society. The more people that are seeing the hypocrisy in the media and in our elected officials, the better. But I worry that it's just happening too slow. But like I said, though, Manitoba, this is kind of like part 1 because Roussin is having another conference. He's either going to hold it on Thursday or Friday, I believe, to update us on when this mask mandate is actually going to go in effect. And like I said, he's going to give a list of businesses and events that Manitobans can attend who can prove vaccination status. So like I said, they are really doubling down on this 2-class system. But I will keep you guys updated on when they do release that new information. But that's going to do it for today's show. I want to thank you so much for tuning in to another show. I really do appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff that helps out the show. I can't stress enough, if you guys do enjoy it, please share. It really does help. You can follow me on Twitter at mbfreethinker. Email is mbfreethinker@gmail.com. Facebook is Manitoba Freethinker. Same with YouTube. I don't usually upload all episodes to YouTube, but I'm on most podcast platforms. And if you can't find me, you can go to my website at mbfreethinker.wordpress.com and you can get all the links to all my episodes there. I want to thank you guys once again so much. Love you guys. I will catch you guys in a couple days. Bye.